Welcome to another episode of One Idea Away, where we're committed to living more fully, deeply, and consciously. Why? Because when we do, we're calmer, we're clearer, we're more connected, more joyful, and much more alive. On this show, we bring you stories of those that are figuring it out just like us, as well as experts who can shed light on the hows and the whys all of this stuff works. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and sharing and reviewing our show. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a review. Also, subscribe to the podcast on our feed, whether it's on iTunes or whatever app you happen to be using. And if there's something that stands out in the show, do us a favor. If it makes you think of somebody, share it along, because this show is meant to get the conversation started, not just to drop in for a little inspiration. So with that, let's turn to this week's episode. Today's episode is sponsored by, well, us, One Idea Away, and very specifically by the 10 Days to Connection Challenge. You see, we ran this really interesting experience for our community in a slightly smaller way to bring people into greater connection with themselves, to clear away the mental clutter, to detox their hearts so they could be more open and free with the experience of life that they were having. And it went amazing. We received such incredible feedback about how wonderful this process was and how freeing it was for people to really connect to life in a deeper way and move past all the stress and the chatter and all the things that distract us on a day-to-day type of basis that ultimately disconnect us from who we truly are and the life that we love. And so this 10 Days Connection Challenge is meant to help you clear that clutter, that mental chatter that keeps you from connecting to that happier life. It helps you to create the space that you deserve to simply take a breath, to uncover what makes you happy, and to let go of anything that isn't working. You get to detox your mind, detox your heart, and connect to that life that you wish to experience, and learn how to bring it out more in you and in everything that you experience on a day in and day out basis. It's just 5 to 10 minutes a day for a week and a half, and it's one of the most beneficial things you can do for yourself to create that space that you need to connect to the life that's waiting for you. Just go over to oneideaway.com/connect. That's oneideaway.com/connect. And I look forward to joining you there. So this week's riff is inspired from something that came in from Andrea P., who was talking about some of the work that she does with those that are in the midst of retiring and how much that transition necessarily involves. And very often, yes, there's a lot of logistical things, the money and the schedule and family stuff and all those sorts of things that we've got to consider. But there's also usually a much deeper issue that's going on that actually is where so much of the work for those in transition really is taking place. And that's really what kind of inspired me to share some thoughts with you guys today. And it really begins actually with a moment in time that I had. And it was a moment that I just remembered so incredibly well. I remember actually the day I woke up when this was all going on, because when I woke up, after something had occurred, I felt a relief in just so much of my body. I just woke up easier. My shoulders and my neck, my breathing was more relaxed. I eased so smoothly into my day. I had this really nice breakfast. There was some scrambled eggs, that first cup of coffee, really good stuff. And so I then prepared for my commute by staying barefoot and grabbing a glass of water, because my main commute was now up my stairs to my home office. It was a loft space that I've converted out of our third floor walk-up. And so I sat down at my desk, I pull myself closer in, and that's when one clear thought popped into the front of my mind. And it sounded like this: holy hell, what did you do? You see, the day before, I had just capped off my transition from being CEO of IPEC, this world-renowned coach training company, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. It had been in the works. The transition had been in the works, like retirement and other transitions are, in this case, behind the scenes and at my own request for the better part of a year. And I can't help but think at this moment, oh, crap, I actually did it. And here comes the key question. Here comes the key issue that emerges in transitions, because I started to think, who am I now? You see, transitions are excited and they're scary. They're exhilarating, they're confusing, they're relief granting, and anxiety provoking all at the same time. I've spoken with coaches as well as so many individuals who have transitioned in many core aspects of their lives. So yes, part of it might be careers and into retirement. In some cases, it's out of particular relationships or marriages. Some that have transitioned home out of the military, some that are closing a business or opening a new business, and so on. There's just so many different situations that are out there that involve transition. Much of life is transition. And each of these situations, they have their nuances, but there's nearly always this one key issue that we really don't like to face until it's screaming at us and saying, you got to look at me now. And that is the identity crisis that comes along with transition. So for me, my job and my title, this was a lifelong pursuit for me. The position and work I was doing as part of it, I was really fortunate that I was working with an amazing team at a company that helps a whole lot of people. And this was the center of my world. It's how people knew me. It's how people looked at me. Friends and family knew this about me. They knew that this took an enormous amount of energy and effort and time within my life. It's what I talk about when people would ask me about my life. And of course, the proverbial, well, what do you do, that you would hear at parties? And it was fun because it sparked interest among others and it sparked passion within me, as you can probably even tell right now. It was great and it was aligned. And why in the hell did I walk away from that? Oh, right. That's when I finally remember. I was burnt out because the role and the focus were no longer really what I wanted anymore. It was time to transition. And yet, when you do that transition, when you make that decision, you'll always reach that point where you do remember why you're doing it. And yet you'll think, but what am I doing? And that's what it felt like for me too. And so after allowing my mind to, torment and torture me for a little while, everything started to come back to me. And you see what was underlying all of this, and part of what I needed to reconnect to, and this is what I wanted to share with everybody, was that my career was not me. Whether you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, a doctor, a teacher, a nurse, an engineer, an athlete, military, what you do is an expression of who you are, but it is not who you are. The same goes for relationships. Who I am in relationship with someone is an expression of who I am in relation to them, but it's not the core of who I am. So what is it that I actually am expressing? Meaning, what is it that's really, truly within me that actually isn't transitioning anywhere? My beliefs, my values, my gifts and talents, my qualities, my attributes, and yes, my weirdness too. All of these are part of me. Before, during, and after transitions, we want to look at not just the logistics of the transition or what we maybe have just gone through. Because transition is not simply about the steps to move forward and keep going. Yes, it's an important part of it. However, and even in fact, moving too fast or focusing only on keeping the plan in order usually gets a lot of people in trouble because they believed that things would be different afterwards. But after it all settles in, there's still maybe a stress or an uneasiness, an unsettled feeling, or even frustrations that just kind of creep back in. One of the titles of one of the mindfulness masters and teachers that's out there, John Kabat-Zinn, says, wherever you go, there you are. Well, that could be a blessing or a curse or even both at the same time. We don't want to bring our baggage with us. We don't want to transition and carry the things forward that we really don't truly need anymore. And at the same time, wherever we go, meaning the essence of who we are, that is also with us as we move forward. And so the key is what you bring with you. And it's not only a matter of that which you want to bring forward. That's certainly an important part, is getting very clear of what you are bringing forward, even as you transition and emerge and evolve into new situations. You want to think about that. But it's not only about those qualities and those quirks, but it's also about what you bring through you. You see, in your life, if your joy in life is being creative, or it's being in connection with others, or being of service to others, there are so many ways of expressing that aside from the one or two ways that you used to do this, even if that was the majority of your time. So where might you begin? Start here. List the qualities of you that you still wish to share, meaning what are the qualities, the attributes, the aspects of who you are that you still want to share with the world or share with others or a particular audience or even your family. List the personal values that you have and write out full paragraph descriptions of what those values mean and how do they look? How can they look in your present life? meaning it's not just enough to have those values. You've got to write them out so that the beliefs that inform those values are present and clear and constant to you, and you know what those values look like in action. So take the time to list out those values, to find what they mean, hone in on the beliefs that are underneath them, and then what do they look like in the present, everyday action that you have. List out the talents that you have that bring you alive, meaning not just the things that you're good at. Maybe if you're transitioning to different jobs, transitioning home out of the military or something, yeah, you want to make sure you know those strengths that are going to be really valued by the workplace, let's say. That's part. If it's for retirement, or even if it's just transitioning, or if it is transitioning jobs, it's not just about those things though, because you also want to list out the talents that light you up. It could be that connecting with others. It could be storytelling. It could be something artsy. It could be you're just incredibly creative or strategic about solving problems and pulling things together. Maybe you're great and you really enjoy organizing an event that supports a cause that you love. Whatever it may be, list out the talents that bring you alive, that give you that feeling of meaningful contribution, and start to say, well, how could I use these now? Where can I express those in whatever I'm transitioning to? If it, list out the types of things that you've always wanted to learn or to try or to take up or to focus on, or just bring further into your life and start prioritizing them based on what you really, really want to do, and filter it down of, grab a list of 20 and say, okay, out of a list of 20, what do I really, really want to do out of this? And then if you get down to a list of 7, what do I really, really, really want to do out of this? Something that one of my own kind of colleagues and mentors, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, talks about is, what do you really, really, really want? It helps you filter those types of things down. But don't just look at them as activities. Also look at what are those activities allowing you to express, because that's going to point to something deeper. And so you may also want to list out what are some of those emotions that you wish to savor and the experiences that you can have that bring them out. List out all of these things. Start to see and feel this picture of all of the different ways that you express yourself. Get that in front of you. Write those things out. Start to see and feel it, and then ask yourself, who am I at my core, at my essence? Don't just listen for an answer. Feel it. Feel what begins to emerge, and then begin to see and hear what words emerge to match that. You see, this is the essential you that you bring with you to everything you evolve into. Everything else is either an expression of this essence or something that distracts you from it. You can choose which path will emerge if you remain mindful and conscious as you go through your transition. Transitions can bring out either side, the essential self or the distracted, diffused, false self. And more often, transitions are usually going to be a confusing mix of both. So be patient. Give yourself space. Be clear not just about where you're going and what you're going to do, but also clear on the essence of who you are that's coming through you with this change. You see, transitions do not have to be simply about what you leave behind or what you may leave behind. Transitions are about emerging. They're about evolving. You take that which you will, that which matters and is meaningful to you, and that matches, aligns, and expresses or even serves your essential self. That's what you bring forward, and that's what you let through. Transitions can serve as liberation if you allow them to. I hope that you'll allow a few of the things that I mentioned here to be a start for you, to navigate more consciously by keeping your awareness wide open and your insights focused on where they most belong. Insight is about inward sight. Inward so that you can see the very core of who you are. And that's what always comes with you and always can come through you if you allow it to emerge. Happy transitions and much love. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you really enjoyed it, do me a favor, let us know. You can keep the conversation going and send us a message on our Facebook page, which is simply One Idea Away. Go ahead and tag me in the post or even just direct messages. Also, I would be incredibly grateful if you could share this episode along with someone that you believe could benefit from hearing the ideas and the messages that we got into. That's pretty much why we do this. So you can just go ahead and share it from your app or email it along, whatever works for you. The point is to share, to talk, to discuss, and keep the dialogue going, because it's in those conversations that ideas can take hold and create profound shifts in perspective. That's what allows us to live life more fully, deeply, and consciously. As always, we would love to see you post a review for the podcast in iTunes or whichever app you're using. And until next time, remember, you're never more than one idea away from a whole new reality. This is Luke Iorio and One Idea Away, signing off.